Kia ora whanau and welcome back to Get Into Games Aotearoa 2022. I, unfortunately, am still that guy's energy. We can't all be Hahu Bennett Tapsal Bennett. I'm not sure. She is Hahu for the day, though. We have decided on that. I was trying to think there was a character that I was like, what's the character that sounds like Hahu? And I know Blaze will know it. And I'm pretty sure the name that was coming to me was Haku, who was Zabuza's little partner from Naruto. That's a whole sad story. If you guys have watched that arc, it's actually probably one of the better Naruto arcs. But that has nothing to do with what we're doing with slot 3, day 4 of Get Into Games. We are diving into the world of broadcasting in esports and the importance of bringing the games to the masses, because it isn't complete without the voices behind the actions. Casters, much like commentators, are there to help explain the action and build tension and excitement. And we are lucky enough to have one of them with us today. That person is known as Cthulhu. If you guys haven't heard of their work, they've just done a lot. Cthulhu, you have done a lot. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, look, it's been quite a wild ride. I think
Mm,
I'm nearing about 5.5 years now of working, whether it was volunteer work or paid work
mm.
within esports. Yes.
5 years, that's an incredible amount of time, especially within, such a small industry in New
Mm,
Zealand. Like, it has been a long build up to get to a kind of stable pattern of work within the esports community in New Zealand. So,
mm.
on that note, does that mean you really did, you start at the bottom of all of this? Were you just doing like random land tournaments in like
Oh.
halls in the middle of nowhere?
Well, I didn't get to that kind of bootleg level
Yeah.
at the very beginning, but it was off the back of like basically not really having a whole lot of PC space for myself. It was just off the back
Mm.
of a laptop on my legs and just just commentating random games on the online ladders. And basically the whole like inspiration behind that was just literally just trying to keep up with with my friends who were competing, and whilst I couldn't really dedicate a whole lot of time whilst being in school or about to go
Mm.
to uni.
Mm. Just that weird handoff between it. Now, of course, I had to hand in my literacy card last night because I thought it was Poe who came up with the original character name. And what this is about to touch on, for those in the chat who don't know where the name came from, Cthulhu, just where is your nickname from?
Originally it is one of the I guess one of the underworld slash sea world gods written
Hmm.
by H.P. Lovecraft.
Hmm.
And basically the whole like actual representation of Cthulhu
Mm.
is uh, it's a rather large figure
Yep,
with
yep.
tentacles all over the face.
Mhm.
Basically, the one who controls the Kraken as well
Mm.
is probably the other description. But yeah, the reason why I kind of decided to use this as my alias, it was initially part of me kind of trying to become the big YouTuber. And
Right.
to me, and it's all started off initially with the Russian Cthulhu, but then it kind of
Okay.
in the initial stages, I realized how it's quite already quite a mouthful in trying to remember. So trying to dial it down a little bit here and there, and it kind
Mm.
of ended up just almost dumbing it down to Cthulhu,
Mm.
where I'm happy with the name. And by the time I was starting to think, oh, maybe Cthulhu even is quite a mouthful, like
Mm.
quite difficult to remember. By that time, I already made my name in the community, so it was like, do I really want to change now my alias? Do I really want to
Mm.
basically almost start anew with the new name? But um, yeah. But apart from that, yeah, the idea was just I just like the whole concept of Cthulhu, so I was like, so might as well roll with
I
Yeah.
have been looking forward to this interview, by the way, but we're going to do it in a very fun way. So, we're first going to start off where we will all verse each other in Mythos. So, chat, you're going to have your favorite chicken man back. But then I'm going to ask you
it.
to
Hmm.
cast a game between me and Zeno.
All right.
So the way
This should
we'll
be
handle
good
that,
fun.
folks, is yeah, it will be. We'll just do the first round, so we all three of us fighting each other. In the second
Mm.
round, myself and Kahu will ensure that we stay away from Propeller Man. And we will just fight, and we'll have Cthulhu take us through a brief example of shoutcasting, because of course, Kahu, there is a shoutcasting competition. So do take notes from what Cthulhu may be doing out there, and let's get into it. But what other questions do you have for Cthulhu there, Kahu?
So you have had quite a busy week, haven't you? Can you please tell us
Mm.
the events that you've recently been a part of?
So the most recent set of events. So I started things off, or rather, well, yeah, started off by finishing a season 4 LPL Pro for Rainbow Six.
Uh,
Um, so that was a exciting time. Not as much as me being yeeted off the map. But yeah, and then I progressed further on. With a broadcast for World of Tanks NZ Premier League.
oh my gosh.
So that has been an exciting prospect, which was basically getting into the playoffs and sending the two teams to the LAN finals in Melbourne.
Oh wow, just
And
like that.
then, yeah, just like that, yeah. Uh-oh. Um, and
Oh.
then we continued moving on. Oh, Jesus, I better run. um, we went then into Armageddon Expo,
Yep.
which had the phenomenal esports open for Halo. So that has been a good fun, and I got the amazing opportunity to cast alongside my usual duo partner for anything siege wise, um, Blue Panda, aka Billy
Mm.
Brereton. The man is absolutely talented in that regard. And then I also got invited to do the Commonwealth Games for Dota 2 and Rocket League as well, which was an interesting venture given it was also my debut in those two titles.
That is insane. We can actually we'll leave it a little bit longer. We actually have, I think, 3 more rounds before the final round. So let's do the 3 more rounds.
So we
Final.
do
Yeah.
3 rounds
I
total.
think
So
we're
I
doing five
agree.
5 rounds all up. I think is what I put it in
Okay.
as the lobby.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
did see that.
How does that sound to you, there, Cthulhu?
Yeah, sounds pretty good.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay. Oh, oh, okay. I'm not sure if Kay knows what she's doing. So you just said you class alongside Blue Panda a lot. So it sounds like you guys had, like you said, in fact, a very busy weekend. But on that same note, doing so many different
Mm.
properties, do you have to have a really good insight into the actual properties? Like, do you have to have
Uh,
a slight amateur skill level to it, or do you just kind of have to understand where the current meta in the game is?
well, the kind of the thing being is like once you got kind of the general gist of how to do the casting,
Mm,
it's fairly easy to adapt kind of
yeah.
thing. So like you gain like a core skill set kind of thing where
Mm,
it's much more workable and like you know certain quirks, certain ideas about how you should present yourself even. But if it's something on a regular basis, like say you've been invited to like a season worth of casting, then yeah, it's preferably to have the at least a good understanding of what's the current meta, how things generally work, and how do you kind of play around from there.
yeah.
But if it's say one of those one-off, as long as you have kind of again a general kind of idea, you don't fumble say the names of the heroes or the legends. Depends on what game obviously you're playing and you're
Yeah.
casting. Um, that's basically kind of the basis for it.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot
Um,
of sense. And I've been lucky enough to have my own go at shoutcasting and
mm,
hosting sometimes, and I've found myself as long as you understand that meta. For those in the chat at the moment who don't understand what meta is the current game state or skill level currently being used to win within a game. So for the
mm,
likes of Rainbow Six Siege, it would be building your team a specific way so that your team has the best advantage to potentially walk away with the win. I find that very helpful for the kids out there because yeah,
mm,
I think if you were to try to assume that you needed to know everything about the game, it would be a little bit scary. But just understanding its current state
yeah.
is all you need. And I think maybe people get overwhelmed by that because when they think of like Fortnite and Apex, because those are content machines, those are constantly moving parts. and the meta can change like from week to week. Whereas something like Rainbow Six Siege, that's kind of driven by like the patches and seasons. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it's every 3 to 4 seasons it
Mm.
gets a new season,
Mm.
and it basically allows the game to keep up the freshness. Albeit in the recent days, it's been a little bit difficult to be a Siege enjoyer.
Yeah.
Due to some of the more recent patches.
Yeah.
I'm not going
just,
to
just
stay
run,
alive for
just
long.
run. Oh, I'm
But yeah,
dead. I'm alive. I'm alive. I'm alive.
you're alive.
Yeah, I'm
You're
alive.
alive.
I
Everyone's
survived.
okay. Never mind. I'm not alive.
Going. Oh no, she's doing the most. She's doing the most.
But
Gonna
so
run.
this right here, like if you're casting, you've got to process so many things going on at the same time, though, right?
Yep.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you have to basically keep up with a lot of things on the screen. Like you can't really be, you made one statement and kind of just call it a day. It always has to be one of those like very cautious things. I just set myself down through the floor. But yeah, no, you definitely do have to keep an eye out on how you talk, what you talk about, what's your kind of general kind of pacing of things, because pacing is a key thing that I keep on telling even some of the more of like newcomers as well into the casting scene, where you have to make sure that you just talking at the pace that is comfortable for yourself, and that you're able to make the best of it while still not sounding either too rushed or too slow, so where you can still enunciate all of your words, all of your points, and kind of from there on it starts building up even your character, because the way how you speak already can kind of creates your character. From there on, if you go with some, I don't know, either cheesy lines, or you've been starting to be known for, I don't know, dad jokes before the actual broadcast actually starts, or during the hosting part, it all kind of attributes to your kind of, I guess, persona.
Yeah, your
And
character, so to speak. Yeah.
yeah, to your character. Yeah. So to a certain degree, this does kind of almost similarly play out like as if you're an actor, but it's more so just on a kind of a live basis. So yeah, no, there's plenty of plenty of ways around it. Oh no, and definitely making good research, or even say you've stuck around for a while. You've stuck around in the community for a while.
Oh no.
So you stuck around in the community for a while. You could play the historian rather than the just a simple like analyst or play-by-play caster.
Yeah, the
So
person who keeps the
there's
law.
yeah, the lore master kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Oh my
And
gosh, I'm
it's
sorry.
been it's been great to see this kind of when you're trying to be the the big storyteller, having the ability to back yourself up with like a bit of a historical kind of element to your cast is always a great piece of kind of in your toolkit to go for, especially when you have to fill time, because with broadcasts there's a very frequent chance that, say, teams take their time to make it into the lobby, or there's a prolonged what's my call prolonged break,
This one?
say.
What's it there?
Are we commentating this one?
I think so.
Okay.
We've all lost
Right.
track of our thoughts out there, viewers, because we are playing this far too intensely. But sorry to interrupt you there, Cthulhu. Would you be
All
able
good.
to broadcast myself and Kahu in this final round? Of course, Kahu. I don't trust you to not attack his character
Okay, I
to get
won't
3 points.
whack the
Yeah. So we'll just meet in the middle.
Okay.
So
Okay.
HFC man, and you can see our screen there. Is that correct, Cthulhu?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, if you maybe back out of mid, because I know one of us will
Right, bump
definitely
fists.
hit you. So,
Bump fists.
but no, we're not
Bump
bumping
fists.
fists. No.
Yeah. Okay. Ready?
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Alrighty, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the annual showdown of the Mythos Party. With Kahu already kicking things off with quite a ferocious set of attacks with the club. On the side of Xeno as well, the man, the myth, the legend, is looking to play a little bit of that nimble game, maybe a little bit of a dexterity even build to a certain point, you could call it. Trying to go in for a few of the spin attacks, but Zeus straight away already comes around, fully charged up and ready to rumble as well. Will be dishing out quite a fair bit of a knockback damage, plus starting to take away quite a fair few of those tiles. So for Kahu, this could mean a whole lot of problems as well later down the line. Can't really approach it safely. 30 seconds remaining. The push needs to come around because neither of the two parties have managed to score a point. I say that though, phenomenal play by Kahu as well, being able to get the knockout onto Xeno J as well. Going in for the next one as well. Oh, the arrow comes around. Oh, another one comes in. We still have 13 seconds. The scoring could still very much update, but instead the flowers do come around. This is big as well. Completely isolating, but oh, what a play. But it still will be keeping the scoreline in the hand of Kahu.
Amazing casting. You guys have it. That was the man, the myth, the legend
There we
himself, in
go.
fact, Cthulhu, shoutcasting that final round for us. That was amazing.
That was good. I felt, is this how like the professionals feel when they're playing?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I don't know if they can actually hear the likes of Cthulhu, because in many of those kind of pro games, the Cthulhu, can they actually hear you, or they just kind of, they're in their headsets, they're in their world, they're in their team chat. Do they ever hear anything you guys say, or they're just stuck in there?
Usually if it's an offline, or rather, sorry, if it's an online broadcast, then no, they just stick with their own comms and probably just rewatch the broadcast later down the line. Say if they're doing their own kind of VOD review / stream review of how they performed, they would be able to hear the casters talk. But if it's on a LAN setup, it basically depends from an organizer to organizer, because I know that for some of the tournament organizers, they have like a whole setup to make sure that the players don't hear the casters, because obviously that would then grant either a disadvantage or an advantage to them. So generally speaking, again, it's only when, say, a team gets off, they get to watch the whole event unravel whilst they're not playing, and only then they get to basically hear the casters. But from the perspective of audience, they get to hear the whole thing.
Yeah.
Just to quickly address the questions about Hahu replacing her ability. It wasn't because I didn't realize that was going to replace my shift. It was because I just wanted to give you guys a chance.
Oh, here we go. We do have a great question here, though, Cthulhu. I think we may have touched on it loosely earlier. But it's basically, is shoutcasting difficult?
It can be. It basically it very much depends on how you approach it, because say if your starting point is just trying to make sure that you don't say any of the naughty words, then it may be a little bit of a difficult one to readjust basically your whole vocab for that. If it's, say, you're coming from my kind of background where English is my secondary language, it is an even bigger task, because you obviously would have to make sure that at least whenever I cast, I have to make sure that I'm not saying something that is grammatically wrong or too grammatically wrong. I have to keep up with whether I'm saying even just the right words with the point that I'm trying to make during the broadcast. And if it's for somebody that is, usually well read, usually did a little bit of, say, even voiceover work, it could be a pretty easy start, as long as you have the creativity about how you approach it all, and you don't try to kind of step by step follow another caster. Then I think it will be a relatively fun kind of creative way to go about it, because whilst you can use other casters as like the example of what to do and what not to do, generally trying to copy the style doesn't particularly end up boding well, because you're taking on the persona of somebody else rather than making your own one.
Yeah.
And so to kind of TLDR, to answer the question, is shoutcasting difficult? It's it's difficult when it comes down to the endurance run, when you're just starting off and training, say, your lungs, your voice box, to be able to perform for a while. But
Mm,
in on the mental side, it's basically, it depends on how you approach it, and the way, sorry, your own approach decides how difficult it will be, or the difficulty of the game that you're going to play with the
yeah.
shoutcasting. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really great way to break it down. Especially, I like that you touching on, ensuring that your vocal cords are able to
Mm.
last the amount of time that they can take. We do see you in chat. This MJ Rain. We want games. Unfortunately, we do only have half-hour blocks, so we try to time it so that we can
Mm.
get one good game out of the road. And of course, Kahu once more walks away with a win. She's been obsessed with it all week, but we appreciate that about her.
Cthulhu, how did you like first start getting into casting? Because I've played games, and I'm being like casting in my own head, like my own place. Does anyone do that? Like, I'll make a meme play, and then like in my head, I cast it.
Yeah, yeah.
See, for me, that was a completely different turnout when was
Mm,
first starting off. Because basically for me, because I knew a bunch of friends back in Siege that would play the game religiously as part of like the competitive ladder. That was
mm,
basically the only thing that ANZ had back then, whilst the rest of the world already had Pro League and whatnot.
yeah.
Um, for me, it was literally just, yeah, I just wanted to hang around. I was wanted to be that part of that, the cool kids club, I guess, but without actually, having to dump 12, 14 hours a day to, do all the practices. And so the best kind of idea was literally just because I saw a few people starting to do those community casts, and it's like, well, what kind of, what bad would come out of me just trying to do that as well? And I ended up, yeah, just approaching a few teams saying, yo, can I just stream your match? And little by little, I started building up my confidence. I started building up my kind of my own, I guess, character, my own
Mm,
persona when it comes down to casting, and it's been evolving ever since. Even nowadays, like, I compare myself casting, say, a year ago and now, it's two completely different qualities.
mm,
Um, and with that also comes the maturity as well, with how you approach certain things even behind the scenes. Because with casting, whilst it's all, on the forefront, it looks all, shiny and all fancy and
mm,
everything. Behind the scenes, it generally speaking, not always all, like, all the shiny and glitters. Because between say, if you're doing a contract work, you have to always be on top of your own finances, on top of the invoices that you send over. Sometimes, if it's say, international tournament organizers, they take a while to send the payments off. So managing your own budget as well can be sometimes rather frustrating, because with working as a contractor comes the inconsistency in the financial state. So um, it's all kind of like, it's part of a learning experience, I suppose,
mm.
because it all obviously teaches you some of the much necessary life skills as well. Um, so in that case, kind of, shoutcasting ended up giving me quite a very robust skill set that
Mm,
I can definitely say that, like, say I wanted to back out of shoutcasting, I could still do quite a number of things. I could still, say, even try my hand probably in something like acting or voice acting, or even go beyond that, say go for something like a community management roles, a whole lot of it. Because
yeah.
even with social network as well, you have to manage your own stuff. So say if you keep on progressively expanding your media pool on the social networks as well,
Mm,
um, you gain those social media skills that you can offer them
mm,
to some of the other companies.
totally. That's a really great way to break it down, and it comes back around to also just knowing the right people,
Mm,
which is always an asset.
networking.
Now, before we let you go there, Cthulhu, I did manage to pick up earlier while we were talking before the broadcast that you may have mentioned that you went to media design school. Is that
That is correct.
correct?
Yes.
Interesting. What did you do there during your time?
So I graduated Bachelor of Software Engineering with a major in game development,
Wow.
and Yeah, albeit it was a bit of a prolonged time for me there
Mm.
during because I may or may not have ended up dedicating a little bit too much time to casting, so a few of the courses were left behind for a brief
Yeah.
moment. But
Wow.
no, yeah. So and I did get to witness Mythos Party being developed from the very ground up. I got to see some of the
Wow.
early um, alpha stages of it. Where I
Yeah.
was one of the testers for it on campus when it was being developed. So yeah, it was quite an interesting time because I believe the very first few prototypes we got to see, it was very almost blocky, like apart from the
Yeah.
characters. So the characters were all like in the shapes that they were
Mm.
relatively intended, but the rest of the world was just gray boxes.
Just placeholders, so to speak.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it was definitely an interesting time. Like
Yeah.
studying game development in the environment that media design school presented
Mm.
felt very almost magical, especially when you get to see,
Mm.
say, you don't see the same group for a while and they're working on that half a year long project. They show such a huge progress, and you go from seeing, oh yeah, this looks in concept kind of cool, to like, oh, that is a game that could be very much released on
Yeah.
Steam or somewhere, and you would be very much happy to pay all the money for it.
Wow, look at that, folks. So that's Cthulhu confirming he got to see Mythos Party before we were even playing it on stream. So that's a fantastic little piece of insight. Yeah, very jealous.
Real, real quick, sorry.
Yeah.
How can people follow you, Cthulhu?
Hmm.
So for the most of it, usually I use Twitter. So that is at Cthulhu ANZ. That is CTHULHUANZ.
Yes.
And same tag is on Twitch whenever I once in a blue moon decide to boot up a stream.
Whenever you
But
stream.
hopefully now that with the new setup, I'll be
Mm.
able to do that a bit more frequently. But yeah, so those are the two primary social networks that I utilize.
Well, there you guys have it. That was Cthulhu NZ, our prominent shoutcasters there out in Aotearoa. As for ourselves, we will have a short video looking at a recent visit to Reefton and what they may have got to experience down there. Yes, that was the continued Empower tour along the West Coast. It was again, it just looks like so much fun.
It does.
Like schools just getting all this amazing stuff that we didn't get to
I
experience in
mean,
our youth.
back in my day in the
Yeah.
computer lab, like you were
Mm.
lucky if your chair had a back.
So it wasn't technically a stool in that case.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So of course this was session 3 where we were talking with Shoutcaster Cthulhu, and of course what that ties into is the Shoutcaster challenge, one of 3 challenges for this week of Get Into Games Aotearoa. What is the Shoutcaster? Shoutcasters are the voices of esports commentating on tournament games at real world events and online. How you can enter it is an audio or video recording challenge. We want you to submit is audio or video of you shoutcasting a game. You will need to record around 30 seconds and send this finished product through to us. Tips for it are practice by watching Twitch or YouTube gaming videos and commentate over the top. You should have good knowledge of the game that you are commentating, and you can record yourself using a phone or device and playback and listen to yourself. Get others to listen and give you feedback and just practice lots, basically. You can see that there are also files on our website at getintogames.nz where you can get more information around it and send that through to level up at getintogames.nz. Please clearly label your file with your name and school so we know where you're from, and that should be due by 3 p.m. on the 23rd of June. Do I just like humbly say it's like you could check out ones I've hosted or shoutcast?
I was actually going to say it
Mm.
sounds like you're casting the
I'm
notes.
casting the competition. Yeah, I'm shout. There you go.
You've got the voice for
That's
it.
the example. I've shoutcasted you how to enter the shoutcaster challenge. But please do give it a go, and you can win some great prizes. I forget what's out there. Pretty sure there's Beats headphones. I heard that floating around somewhere. I just want to quickly say to production, is that Discord window slightly supposed to be on our screen at the moment or not? I can see it like it's on the side.
Oh.
Yeah, it's hiding away. It's a little treat for all of you guys out there. But please, of course, remember to check out getintogames.nz, the website, to have a look at all of that different information around it. Kahu, what are your final thoughts for the second to last day of Get Into Games Aotearoa 2022?
I think this commentator challenge is going to be so fun. I think a good way to start is to watch Twitch. There's a lot of commentators on Twitch.
There are a lot of commentators, but also make sure you guys check into look up world tournaments. So any World Cups for any games that you really like. I think the most prominent thing to take away from our challenge was do a game where you actually like the game. Don't just grab some, don't try to shoutcast Minecraft, though I'm pretty sure you could probably give that a good go. That would be good, right? Oh, they're
Shoutcasting
using one
Minecraft.
block. They're
Oh my
cutting some
gosh.
wood. Oh, that's exciting times. So, no, that's definitely get into it. And of course, the information for our other challenges are up on that website. As for tomorrow, what will we be looking into? If you guys notice me looking off screen, it's because I'm looking at what our timesheet will look like. We have the PC build tomorrow.
PC building.
I'm looking forward to that. So we'll have a PC build live on stream. We'll also be looking into Dungeons and Dragons and Warhammer 40k, and then the future of technology with one of our sponsors, Code Avengers, who Aaron Martinga from Puhoro mentioned earlier as having worked for them. So we'll be looking forward to them in that last slot of the day. As for our farewell, I'm going to leave that to you, Kahu.
I have been Hahu with my co-host Zeno J. Thank you so much for joining us. There's some people that can't make it tomorrow, you can watch the replay.
We're going to have videos of demand of all of this that will be up on our YouTube channel, so you can watch it when you want to.
Thank you so much, and we will see you tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Ka kite.